Hello, everyone, and welcome to the September Hangout. Great to have you with me again. And I know some people are here live. I can see I've got the chat window here already. And I should say it is the first round of the Olympiad played today. So I'm going to be looking through a few of the games from the Olympiad. And I find it really interesting, actually, when you get these matchups between the top teams and the lower rated teams. You begin to see just how strong the big guys are, because they're still often playing players rated about 2200, 2300, and they just completely outclass them. So I'm looking forward to looking at a few of those. If you're on the chat, then there you are. I can see a few more people are arriving. Good evening from the Netherlands, says Sam Wampa. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. Am I feeling better? Why am I in my shoes? Yeah, I'm feeling a bit better. Still haven't quite kicked the cold, but I'm getting better. Hustler Boy says, I love you, Danny. Well, I'm sure you're a fine fellow. The Angry Economist, beautiful name. Hello from Cape Town. Hello to you, Angry Economist. I should say, I normally like to give my standard weather report. Well, of course, it's dusk here in London. It was a beautiful sunny day here in London. September, for those of you who don't know the English climate, September is often a really beautiful month in England. I mean, particularly London and the southeast, where everything becomes a bit more mellow. Seasons of mist and mellow fruitfulness, as they say, close bosom friend of the ripening sun. So you get beautiful sunshine, starting to get a little bit of rain, but you get beautiful sunshine, and the days are very mellow here. And it's like the end of summer and the start of autumn. It's fantastic. So it was a beautiful day here, very sunny. But in the evening, you can feel a little bit of chill in the air. But there we are. The Angry Economist says he can see Jupiter and Venus from his window. Wow, fantastic. That's amazing. My daughter would be very interested in that. She's into astronomy. Claudio Alfaraz. Hi, Daniel. Best regards from Argentina. Really love your videos. Very instructive content. Keep it going. I will do. Thank you. Greetings to you in Argentina. I think I've mentioned to many people before, I've never been to Argentina, but I'm a big fan of Astor Piazzolla. He is a wonderful composer, wonderful musician. Kaiser Anvar says it's getting pretty chilly here in the USA. How cold is it in London right now? Well, today the temperature was something like 17 or 18 degrees Celsius. Probably warmer in the sun, maybe 20 degrees in the sunshine. It was nice. But of course, as soon as the sun goes down, it gets colder. Right. Let me see. I think we've got a fair spectrum of players and people from all over the world, which is great. Eisen says 70 degrees Celsius. No, I said 17 degrees. So it was about 17 to 20 degrees here in London today. Kaiser Anvar says he's a musician at Yale. He's a fan of Astor Piazzolla as well. One of my top idols. About to perform one of his piano duos soon. Fantastic. Yeah, definitely strong similarities between music and chess. Okay, listen, without further ado, I'm going to show the Valco 90 game says, I don't even like chess. Why am I here? Tell you what, Valco 90, stick around. I'll show you a game of chess that was played today in the Olympiad, and hopefully you'll begin to appreciate why you should stick around and why chess is such a beautiful game. Okay, I'm going to start with, let me just prepare the windows. I'm going to start with a game that was played in the Russia-Uganda match. No, I didn't, angry economist. Okay, I'm just going to switch my windows around, so just bear with me while I swap. That's clever. Why isn't this working? Wait a second. This is not working at the moment. Cancel that. Technical difficulties, everybody. Just a moment. We can solve this, I'm sure. Here we go. Yes, cracked it. Okay, here we go. I'm going to switch. I'm going to see the chessboard now, and I'm going to show you a game between Nepomniachtchi, I should say, Jan Nepomniachtchi, playing for Russia against Patrick Kawuma. Now, Patrick Kawuma, I hope everyone can see the board okay. Patrick Kawuma is rated 23-29. I suspect that that's stronger than a lot of you watching, but just watch the way that Nepomniachtchi deals with him. This is very, very impressive. Riaz Ali says e4, white wins. He does indeed. Shall we have a look at how he wins? It's French defense and knight c3, all very normal, and the classical, which I like very much. Now, this is interesting, the Steinitz. So it's a little bit unusual, but basically the knight moves back and prepares to support the pawn here. So this is all pretty regular. So supporting the pawn chain. Of course, if we go back a bit, then the main lines are after this and this and bishop e3. That's basically the starting point. So anyway, let's go back. So Nepomniachtchi plays this, which is the old Steinitz variation. It's a little bit unusual. Now, b6 is okay, but I don't think it really exploits this. I know that I've played with black here, knight c6. If f4, then I've gone on the attack straight away with b5, b4. I think this is quite dangerous. And you can potentially get in queen a5 and then maybe bishop a6. Dangerous for both colors, of course, but I think this is a more aggressive way to play, and I think puts more pressure on the opposition. b6 played. I think it's a little bit passive. Knight f4, of course, is an excellent move. This knight spins around. It looks at these this sensitive square here. It can sometimes come to h5 as well. That can be very annoying indeed. And of course, it makes it difficult to get in f6 because of e6 and potentially because of queen h5 as well. So already after knight f4, I really like white's position, actually. It's interesting how, just one inaccurate move in the opening and suddenly feels as though white is doing very well. Of course, this is a very standard maneuver to play the bishop to a6 to exchange off this so-called bad bishop for this strong bishop here. But white gains a lot of time. And maybe the most important thing in this position is that black doesn't have space. White secures his space advantage. And watch this knight here. This is a terrible piece. That's why I in the variation I mentioned with b5, b4, the knight often came to b6. You can see in this position, this knight is very poorly placed on d7. The knight on a6 also not very well placed. So it takes time for black to kind of unravel here. And in the meantime, white has secured his center. Now, black plays queen c7, and I think he was spooked by this move h4. I think it's better to play the knight back to c7 to guard e6 and potentially to look at f6 at some moment. So castle's kingside and maybe f6. So the knight guards this one. Now, it's not so easy to get that in, but, you know, that would be one idea. But instead, queen c7. a3, very careful, just preventing a potential exchange here. And knight b4, and also looking to get in b4 to gain some space. And after this move, well, I wonder. I think once the king commits very early, then this makes life much, much easier for white. And he goes on the attack straight away. Black exchanges. And queen c4. Okay, now I'm going to throw it open to you. If you've seen the game, then don't bother. If you're using a computer, also don't bother. But what would you play here if you had white? White to play, what would you do? Let me throw it open to you. Oh yeah, it's all gone very quiet now, hasn't it? What are people saying? Let me have a look at the chat. We've got bishop b2 suggested, queen a4 suggested, bishop e3 suggested. Lots of suggestions. Interesting. So no consensus at the moment, certainly. Let me see. Riaz Ali says queen is dangerous, so offer a trade with queen e2. I think queen e2. I still think that white has some space advantage, and you know, on the king side looks good, but I think it would be kind of a relief for black to have exchanged queens. Hustler Boy wants to play knight takes e6. Well, that's a little bit too keen. A little bit too keen, I think. Let me see. I mean, it seems to me that bishop e3 or bishop d2 are the most interesting moves to look at here. Queen a4 is suggested. Is that a bit too keen? I just wonder whether I can just play king b7. And I don't think there's nothing doing at the moment. Might have helped white black's king. I see. Well, in the game, bishop d2 was played. Well done to those who suggested bishop d2. Yeah, obviously a threat just to play rook c1. So the king comes to b7. And the queen goes in. So now it's getting interesting. Gabe, greetings to you in LA. b5. Let's rattle on with this game because I want to see some others. Knight comes back to b8. Now, once this knight comes to b8, things start to look very sticky for black. Now, just one glance at this shows you that those knights tread on each other's toes. Now, that knight on d7 is highly problematic anyway, because it can't go anywhere. This pawn controls, whoops, not that square, that square. Those knights are absolutely terrible. I think from this moment on, things look grim. Perhaps there's some tactical reason why knight c7 isn't very good. Not sure. And certainly white has total control of the A file. It looks pretty bad. I mean, probably just castling is terrible. Then knight takes pawn. So probably we have to play probably A4 first. Well, I mean, white is just better. Sam says, can I make the board a little wider? Yep. How's that? Does that help? Let's do that. That should help a little bit. Is that okay? Yeah. And this looks nice. But in any case, I mean, I think black's position is horrible now. He played rook c2. This is very clever. And then queen b1. This is excellent. Okay, simple question. What happens if black plays rook c8? I'm glad the board is better. So what's Nepo's idea? Rook a2 indeed. Yeah, rook a2 snags the queen. So this was, if I just go back a couple of moves, this was very clever because white has, a few options here. You might have decided, well, a4, but then rook c8. And this is not a good position for black, but black is in the game here. Black is in the game. You bring the other one over and you have some counterplay. The knights are terrible, but, black can hang on. Black can create some difficulties. So this, actually, from Nepo, was very clever indeed. He found a tactical solution to the problem there. A little tactical solution that just completely messes up black. So in order to get the queen out, you have to play bishop f8. And now castles. And you can simply exchange off. And this is absolutely terrible. You can see these guys stuck in the corner. This knight threatening here. Yeah, that's right. Queen b3, rook c7 that would have won the queen. So the queen retreats. And now white is completely winning. This happened. And queen here. Again, I talked about these knights having no decent squares, and you can see all black's pieces just tread on each other's toes. This is happening. The queen can't defend. I mean, it's an absolutely horrific position. And there is just no way out here. Black played knight c5, giving away a piece. I'm afraid it didn't really help matters because these pieces are so bad. And a little tactic. And the rook went in the corner. Pretty bad. And rook a1. And that was the final move of the game. There we are. An emphatic victory. Am I back? I'm back. Fantastic. That's great. Yeah, I mean, it just shows you, this guy is rated 2360 or something. 20. What did I say? What's the guy's rating? He's rated 2329. Not such a bad player, but Nippon Nishi makes him look like a complete beginner. It's very, very impressive. Just a few little finesses, that when he gave up the pawn, he's not trapping the queen, but he makes sure that black's pieces just lose all harmony. But black's opening was inaccurate. b6 in this variation doesn't put enough pressure on white, and white gets a very nice game. So I think Nippon Nishi's opening choice this variation with knight back to e2 was very clever, because this is an unusual variation. I mean, I say unusual, it's fairly well known, but compared to the main lines with knight c3, it's a little bit unusual. And his opponent was clearly completely thrown in this new situation. Hustler Boy asks, why is the King's Indian attack not played so often, even though it was Fischer's favorite opening? Basic problem is that it gives away space. I know it's Fischer's favorite opening, but Fischer used to win with it because he was Fischer, basically. You give away space, and when you give away space, it's a problem. I'm not sure Fischer would be playing it so often today, because strategy has from the top players in the world has improved so much. When you play the King's Indian attack, you don't have so much space as white. This is a problem. It's not a terrible system, but these players like to use their space advantage. They like to use the first move with white to play e4 and d4 and or c4, put pressure on the center. But when you play e4 and d3, then you're allowing your opponent to come forward. And that's why it's not so popular these days. Thomas Wilcox asked, did I ever play Kamsky? No. Jackson Bempton asks, much more King says, there's much more King's Indian attack theory now with computers than in Bobby's era. Do you know what? It's not particularly because of that. It's not particularly because of computers. The King's Indian attack hasn't, you can't refute it. It's not that there are critical lines that computers have, discovered resources for black. It's just in general about the space that you give away. And I mean, I think it's more accurate to say that generally the top player's strategic understanding is far greater than the players around Fischer's era, basically. It's as simple as that. Chess has moved on. People understand if you give away space, it's not so great. Dustin Trent Post asks, what would Fischer play today? I mean, these kind of theoretical questions, I find a little bit frustrating. I mean, this is completely hypothetical. You can't take Fischer out of his own era. This is the problem. And Fischer was a product of his era. And I'm even going to say Fischer refused to develop. He didn't want to engage with the chess world basically after 1972. Yes, I know he played the match against Spassky in 92, but this was a bizarre event against, basically two has-beens. Fischer did not want to engage with the chess world really after 1972. Now, there are reasons for this. He was psychologically disturbed, mentally ill, but this was his choice. He didn't want to keep developing. The players who are really impressive are the ones that have kept going and kept developing. Korchnoi, for example, who was playing way before Fischer in the 1940s and 50s. And he kept playing and not just kept playing, but he kept developing his chess and working on openings his entire life. He was impressive. Kasparov has said this as well. Kasparov, he kept developing as well. Okay. Jackson Pemberton says Fischer would only play 960 if he played today. Well, that's a good answer. Harris Nabil says, Daniel, is Caruana ready for the World Chess Championship match? I hope so. Richard Willis asks, would you be open to a question on your Power Play Queen's Gambit declined repertoire? I think I can only say yes. So if you'd like to ask me a question, please do. That's what we're here for. Der Zangersgott asks, what do you think of the story that the short lost Fisher in Internet Blitz? Well, that was kind of, I think it was proved to be a hoax, actually. I think Nigel will say that too. Unless I get another question quickly, I want to show you another game because there was some really great games played in round 1 of the Olympiad. Let me see. I'm tempted to show you. Well, I've shown you a Russian game. Let me show you something from. Richard Willis, very quickly. I'll deal with Richard Willis first. Could you please suggest what to do if white plays knight c3 before entering the Catalan? I think I dealt with that on my DVD, actually, to be honest. I mean, this is sort of a reasonably popular line at the moment. Basically, okay, let me just have a very quick look. Wait a second. I'll see if I can fish up something. Just bear with me while I find a game. One second. Let me get the board up, and I'll just go through something very, very quickly, and you can throw out some moves. Okay, just one minute. I'm just going to get the board up. Just 1 second. Okay, there's the board. So Richard asks, now I've already played bishop e7. Perhaps it can transpose into a line in the DVD, but without a3 plays means that knight a5 later isn't so good. Okay, just a second. So you're talking about something like this, I guess. And then g3. Well, here, I think the obvious thing to do after knight c3 is to take on c4, actually, because it's less easy to recapture this pawn. This is the problem when you play knight c3, basically. I mean, there are games that have been played like this. Here, the most popular move is knight e5. I should say that if queen a4, I don't think this is very good, because then we can play this, and the queen is actually, the queen is poorly placed, whether it's on b3 or d3. The knight is poorly placed because a4 will be met by b4, and you can get this in very quickly, and c5, and black has nice piece play. So after d takes c4, the best thing to do is knight e5. And this is a reasonably popular variation. And there are two ways to play this. You can either play with c5 and enter this endgame. I've played like this. And, well, either king takes or knight takes, and we recapture there. I mean, this is playable. Or, perhaps more interestingly, to play knight c6. And then there are these interesting sack variations after this. Well, you might recall there were some games in this line recently. And I think this is very, very reliable move. And takes here, and e5, and black has compensation. Or, I mean, I'm sketching this out very quickly. And this was played by Fabiano Caruana, no less. And then castle's queenside against Nakamura in St. Louis. But black is basically fine in this position. You know, I think Caruana used it as a one-off. I don't know if that answers your question, but basically, yeah, after bishop e7, g3, just take that pawn, because it's not so easy for white to recover it. And of course, if white doesn't bother recovering it, then you can hang on to it with c6 and b5. Or indeed, knight d7. I hope that makes some sense. Oh, does that make sense? Ah, he wonders about e4 in response to d takes c4. Shouldn't be a problem. Okay, I'm going to come back to that really quickly. Let me see. I mean, well, to be honest, I don't want to spend too much further time on that. I mean, after d takes c4, e4. I don't, off the top of my head, I don't see what's wrong with c5, because e5 isn't a problem, because you can just put the knight on d5. And if d5, then you take and you can just blockade on d6. That's no problem. After e4, you could also just play c6 and protect the pawn with b5. I just don't find it that dangerous, actually. Things when the bishop is pointing from g2 to a8, then the kingside attack with e5 just isn't that dangerous. So yeah, I think black is fine. Bob Basser asks, I play the Nimzo and Bogo as my main defenses against d4. What do you recommend for black if white starts with d4, c4, and a3? You laugh at your opponent for playing a3. It's just a bad move. You can play anything you like. You can put your pawn in the middle of the board with d5. You can play c5. I mean, if your opponent plays a3, it's nothing special, basically. You're bound to be fine. You have to learn to be a little bit more flexible. You know, if you only play the Nimzo and the Bogo, and your heart is broken if you can't get them in, then you've got a problem. Riaz Ali says, didn't Tony Mars beat Karpov once with a3? No, he beat him with a e4, a6. That's another story. Let me see. I'm going to show you another game because I'm getting tired of that. Let me see. Another game. Okay, I'm going to show you a game. Between Wesley So and who is this guy? Roberto Carlos Sanchez Alvarez, USA against Panama. Now, this guy, Sanchez Alvarez, I should say, is rated 2391. So he's not such a bad player, but again, you just watch how these big guys take him apart. So let me just switch boards 1 second. Board should be up. Now this is interesting. Wesley played e4. Normally he's a left-handed player, you could say. But today he obviously wanted a kill. And he's happy to go into an open Sicilian and a Najdorf. Now, this variation with f3 avoids, if you play bishop e3, then you have to know a lot about knight g4. So f3 avoids that. The only thing with f3 is you have to be prepared to play against e6. And in that case, you don't have f4. So it's horses for courses, but black is happy to play e5. And this is a pretty good line. I mean, one of the lines that I've always liked as black here is a5. It's been my recommendation on my DVDs. And still does pretty well. It's a very decent line, a5. But black wanted to play h5, and this has a reasonable reputation. Knight d5. So Wesley is going for something quite positional. Now you can play knight takes here, so you're not giving up the bishops, but of course black loses time like this. By taking with the bishop, you don't lose time, but you lose a bishop. That's the problem. And Wesley goes in straight away with knight a5, which is one of the ideas, this variation. So if b6, then the knight hops into c6. That's pretty awkward. So black has to play something to protect the pawn. Now, black plays queen b8. I'm not sure about that. Maybe we should just play queen c7. But his idea was to look at the bishop. So this sort of prevents b4. You could still play b4, but yeah, you could actually. Yeah, I'm not sure about black's whole system. It doesn't look right to me. He goes for bishop b6. I just wonder earlier, if we go back, you know, one possible way of dealing with this is just to play something like this. And either in this position, here, e4, just to open things up straight away and hope that this knight is out of the action. See, when you play e4, then it gives you your knight's potential access to these squares. And indeed, e4 in this position is also possible. And this has been played by black before. Queen b8 feels a bit too intricate to me. That's my impression. And after bishop b6, I just don't feel there's enough pressure on white's position. Because this is always hanging over black's head, and I don't like it that the pieces are sort of bunched up here. It doesn't feel right. Okay, I know he's trying to put things right, but and here we go. e4 finally comes. And it's gone wrong already. So if we go back, I just wonder whether black could have done something around here. This queen is terrible. I mean, is it possible to well, this probably, is this working? I want to play e4. I'm not sure. I haven't had a chance to look at this. It just feels as though black didn't quite get this right in this position. So now, obviously, knight takes can be met by queen f7. And now this is tricky. Obviously, black is a pawn down, but he's got some play. And here, yeah, I looked at this earlier. Queen c3 apparently is maybe not so, according to the computer, maybe not so bad. Black has a bit of play. I don't know. This is such a typical Najdorf situation where the king only has 2 pawns in front of it. Black's king, on the other hand, is very safe. And if black can somehow organize his pieces, you know, this one can come in, then black has some play. But, it feels as though black is kind of on the edge. He has to get it absolutely right, and clearly he didn't here. And that's important. The queen manages to defend here, and the pawn is advancing. And the pawn goes all the way. Here we go. New queen for Wesley. He's a whole queen up, but there are problems. Queen takes rook. Excellent move. So what was Wesley's follow-up here? I should have asked you the question before queen takes rook, really. But anyway, what was his follow-up? Over to you guys. Oops. Yeah, well done, folks. Queen h4, excellent. Queen h4 is the move. Simply defending here and threatening queen takes pawn. And black has nothing now. And the game ended like this. That's pretty tragic. And the knight drops, but there really was nothing else. But an interesting situation, you know. Funny, white having 2 queens. But if we go back, you know, it's critical of black's play. It feels too slow, but you know, apparently even here, black has counter chances. As I said, the computer thinks it's better, but this is very, very hard to understand why. I mean, I'm curious. Let's have a little look. So, for example, what would happen on? I mean, this knight. Let's do something with it. Knight takes pawn. Now what for black? Do we simply take here? Do we join things up like this? It's possible. But then if we move the queen out, you know, something like this might be a bit much. Is the queen 2 offside? We throw in. Perhaps rook h4. Very tricky. Manoj Krishna wants to play rook 8c4. Yeah, you could do that. Yeah. And then maybe just hoover some pawns. That's true. That's very true. Yeah, because the king is pretty safe. You can see that advanced h5 gives the king a bolt hole and can be useful later on. We'll see. Yeah, interesting. Okay. Let's move back. So let me take a few more questions before I maybe show you a little puzzle or something like that. What else we got? If you've got any questions, then please do ask them now. I have to say, I'm really looking forward to the Olympiad. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be there this year. I'm kind of busy with other things. That's a problem. But, you know, I think it's a fantastic event. And you know, if we look at the US team, very, very strong. Russian team, very strong. I mean, I would put them both as the favorites, but Ukraine always play extremely well. Armenia as well. Azerbaijan. I mean, fantastically strong. But as I said, I think basically I would put the US and Russia as the top two teams. Bhavnesh Diwan asks, which opening will Caruana prefer against Magnus? Your guess is as good as mine. How do I know that? How do any of us know? Why am I in my shoes? Asks, will I be at the World Chess Championship? I got tickets to day 7 last week. Yeah, I will. I'll be there for most games, I think. You know, I'll be reporting there. Thomas Brown, hello from Germany. Hello to you. Der Zangerscott says, here you're going to be in Hamburg with the Play Magnus event. Yep, I'm going to be in Hamburg in a couple of weeks' time for the Play Magnus event. I'm going to be doing a bit of commentary. How's the boy asked or requests, please continue the What Happens Next series. Well, the only thing I would say is if you sign up as a patron, please go to patreon.com and PowerPlayChess. Normally, if you sign up for $10 a month, then I do some puzzle positions very similar to the What Happens Next, actually. So if you're interested in more of those, then do contribute to the channel. We desperately need your funds to keep the lights on here. Join the inner circle. Come and join us. Come join the patrons. Patreon.com PowerPlayChess, and you can pitch whatever level you want. $5 you get a newsletter. $10 you get an extra video. $25 you get an opening survey. Obviously, you know, per month. And do consider supporting us. We really need to grow the channel. Hi Daniel, what's your favorite game? Oh, that's impossible. I mean, I can say I can tell you there are some favorite games that I've witnessed or commentated on. For example, game from the 2001 championship between Kasparov and Kramnik, which was held in London when I was commentating, where Kasparov was a piece down and fought tooth and nail, a remarkable achievement, and held an endgame against Kramnik, where Kramnik had rook, knight, and pawn against Kasparov's rook, and Kasparov held it. And you could see the energy, the exertion from both players in the 6th hour of play was phenomenal. And it ended in a draw. And that's one of the best games I've ever witnessed. I can honestly say that. Another game that stands out for me that I witnessed was Yusupov against Ivanchuk from their candidates match. And a lot of people think of that match, beautiful game by Yusupov with the King's Indian as black, kind of King's Indian attack. But it's not that game I have in mind. It's the game where Yusupov had an isolated queen's pawn as white and played a beautiful attack and crashed through with a rook sacrifice. And it was sensational. And I witnessed that. And it was remarkable to watch him win that one. So there you go. There's a couple of my favorite games that I've witnessed. Made a big impression. Manoj Krishna asked the difference between strategic planning and positional planning. I think pure semantics. Please don't get caught up in that. I think you're asking the wrong question. Not a lot of difference. Bolaj Sabo asks, can you show one of your games? Not at the moment. Lichess says, how about Magnus versus Li Chao from last year with a double queen sacrifice? Riaz Ali has some pretty out there questions. Have you ever worn a chess-themed costume to a fancy dress party? No. Normally, in my real life, in my non-professional life, I just don't mention the chess thing at all. It's safer, you know. Saga, hi Saga Chess. Hi Dan, which team is your favorite Olympiad? Well, I mentioned earlier, I think basically the top two teams, I mean, this isn't very original, I think are the US and Russia. I expect them to be fighting it out for gold in all probability. Having said that, I think, you know, there are other teams that have a shot. Ukraine, Armenia, Azerbaijan, possibly even India, dare I say it. But I mean, really, the US and the Russia are the favorites, you know, without a doubt. Bob Basser, Larson versus Spassky, epic rucksack by Spassky. Yeah, I've done a video on that one actually, Bob. So do check out my Spassky playlist, and you'll find that beautiful game there. Alexis Mark asks, do I ever get stopped on the street by fans? Do you know what? Curiously, it's happened to me more over the last couple of years, and in some really bizarre places. In Germany, it happens quite a lot, incredibly. So, for example, you know, in Hamburg, in Berlin, I've been stopped by people on the street saying, "I know you," and the last time I was at the airport a couple of months ago, and a very nice Greek chap tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Hi, Danny," which was bizarre. Carlson or Caruana? You don't actually spell Caruana with a W, Hustler Boy. Probably good to know that before the championship starts. Who I think is going to win? I really think it's very open. You know, a year ago I'd have said Carlson would be the favourite. No, I don't think that. I think Caruana has shown this year he's been on sensational form. So I think Caruana is in with a really good shot. I think it's 50-50. I really mean that. Let me show you guys a little puzzle. Let me just sort this out. I've been talking too long. I don't like that. That's always a bad thing. Let me just sort this out. Okay, here we go. Just 1 second while I share the screen. Oh, no, it's not there. Hang on. Just a moment. Just 1 moment, folks, while I get sort out the windows. I've managed to mess up. Here we go. Here we go. Jackson Pemberton states either can win in a 12-game match, not long enough statistically to determine who's stronger. I disagree with that. I think 12 games is enough, actually. And I remember my old commentating buddy, Maurice Ashley, produced a statistic that said that in all previous World Championship matches, whoever was leading after 12 games actually has gone on to win the title. It's an interesting one. I know in a longer, maybe 24-game match, you could say, well, that's, it's different. The track is longer, so it affects play. But still, I honestly think 12 games is enough to determine who the stronger player is. Well, both players know where the finishing line is. That's fair enough. You can't, if you lose, you've got no one else to blame. 12 games is enough, actually. Anyway. Let me show you a puzzle. This was a game that was played in the World Junior Championship recently. White has just played b5. This is playing the game between Martin Percivaldi against Bharathakoti Harsha, who presumably is from India. b5 played by the Danish representative. What did black play now and why? What should black play now and why? This is a nice little puzzle, actually. Now you have to get this right. This involves calculation. Rook f2 suggested. Well, I will take that. And as I understand it, white is a rook up. Not that one. Rook a1 suggested. Nope. Rook a, if rook, whoops, too many arrows, hang on. If rook a1, I'll take that. Hedgehog suggests c5. Yeah, why c5 though? Okay, Hedgehog, you play c5. I'll take it. Now what? What happens after c5, queen takes c5? Knight of 3 gets met by knight of 3. Okay, Adam Mastek says c5, queen c5, rook f2. Yeah, so I play rook takes f2. So we've gone c5. Then I've gone queen takes c5. And then you play rook f2. And then I play rook takes f2. What do you do next? Then rook a1 check. Yeah. And then I play king to h2. Yeah, okay. Now what? Yeah, everyone wants to play rook a1. Then what? I've played my king to h2. Ah, yes. Hedgehog might have got it. And Lawrence Barrea as well. Sean Holden. Yeah, okay. Well, this involves a little bit of calculation. c5 is a very, very strong move because this knight actually doesn't have a good square to go to. b5 was a mistake. b5 was played. Queen takes c5 and rook takes f2. Now here's a bit of a trick because after this check, if queen f2, then I'll give a check and exchange queens. And actually, white is all right in that position. So let's go back. The rook takes, and here's the trick. Knight g4. You have to see that in advance. And that is pretty nasty. So if pawn takes, then queen h4 mate. I suspect knight g4 was the move that white had missed in his haste. So he came up the board. That was taken. That was the final move of the game, because I think after this, that is that. There we go. Nice bit of calculation. You have to see it through from the start, though. Okay, folks, I'm going to leave it there. So, as I said, Olympiad is being played for over the next couple of weeks, and look out for my videos. I'll hopefully produce a video every day, but I just have to see how my schedule is. I think I'm going to show you another game from the US match, probably Nakamura's game. I'll do a recording on that. And as I said before, if you'd like to consider supporting the channel, we'd be very, very grateful. We need to grow the channel. We'd be very grateful. So do check out. Here we go. I'm just going to write this down. Patreon.com PowerPlayChess. And do consider supporting us. So we'd be really grateful. There are over 1,000 videos on the channel now that are all free. Such an incredible amount of knowledge there for you to tap into. There are different playlists on the top players. There are playlists on openings. In fact, do check out the Naidorf playlist, which I set up this month. And, well, if you think you can afford it, do consider supporting us a little bit each month. I'm going to leave it there, folks. We are, breaking news. Mugs and t-shirts are coming soon. We're on the case. Watch out for special mugs, special t-shirts coming soon. I'll keep you posted. We're actually doing something about it. Okay. See you later then. Der Zangersgott says, how about a Gambit playlist? Interesting. Yeah, but watch out for the mugs and t-shirts first. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye now.